Be forewarned, there are a lot of mispronunciations of names up ahead. Hi, it's Booksatina08, and today I have a book review on The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I really enjoyed this book. I went in basically knowing nothing about it. I figured it was another dystopian book. It's not, I wouldn't consider it dystopian. It takes place in a time prior to ours, at least I'm going by the dates in here, and it seems like kind of takes place in a much simpler time, like hundreds of years ago, and it has paranormal aspects and fantasy aspects, and it's really cool. The only thing I knew going into it was the main character was a lot darker than Marie Lu's characters in the Legend trilogy. The main character in The Young Elites is definitely a dark character. So basically, if you've not read The Young Elites, the book takes place in a country called Kenetra, and years ago, like 10 or so dozen years before this story is taking place, there's disease called the red fever swept through the population, and a lot of people died in like multiple countries all around Kenetra and basically the world. And people, a lot of the children who survived ended up being affected by the fever. So a lot of them would have like different colored hair than like some people would have like silver hair, like when they're children. Some would have like red hair. Sometimes their eyes change color. Sometimes they had scars on their face. Sometimes they have like birthmarks or like weird like tattoo kind of things on their arms. Just a bunch of markings. But the thing is, some of these kids that had these markings also got powers from the plague or the red fever. And these powers can range in a bunch of different things, and we learn about a bunch of different ones in this book, and it's really cool. Basically, no two people have the same powers. Also, I should mention, the people who were marked from the fever are known as Malfettos, and those Malfettos that have powers are called elites, and hence the young elites, because they're like still children, like teenage kids. That's why they're young, and then they're elites because they got freaking powers. The king and queen had made it so Malfettos are looked down upon. People think they're like from the underworld, they're like demons, they think they're like the devil, they think they're bad omens. That ties in with this book. So basically, we follow 3 characters in this book, which might sound like a lot, but with the number of characters in this book, I would have been fine hearing from like 10 plus characters. And Marie Lu does it really well, and it was just really entertaining. So the first person we hear from is Adelina, and we hear from her in first person perspective. And Adelina grew up marked. She's a Malfetto with her sister Violetta, who was unmarked by the plague, and her father. And her mother died from the red fever. Sorry, I'm pretty sure I called it plague a couple times, but it's the red fever. And her father does not like Adelina because she was a Malfetto. He loved Violetta and like her sister and like showered her with all these gifts, and like always kind of like abused Adelina, and just really didn't like her and thought she was the cause for like some of his like financial troubles or like troubles with business. And he'd also heard about the elites, and he would abuse her trying to get this power from her to show up, which she didn't have. But then Adelina one day decides to run away because she's like, enough is enough. She found out her father had sold her to this man to be like his mistress. And she's like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Not only are you abusive, you just sold me to a guy. So she runs off, and her father ends up following her. And he ends up catching up with her and is furious, ends up like grabbing her by her hair and yanking her around, like throwing her on the ground and starting to like beat her up. And she just like is so angry and such a hatred towards him that all of a sudden these black figures come up from the ground and spooks this horse, and her horse ends up trampling her father, killing her father. And Adelina realizes that something is moors up with her. And we learn that Adelina is not only a Malfetto, but is also an elite, and she is able to control and display illusions, which throughout the book we learn a lot more about it, and it's that she can do more than just make like these images appear, and it gets pretty cool. The second person we hear from is Raphael. Raphael is a member of the Daggers, and the Daggers is a group of these elites, and there are 5 or 6 of them, and they all have different powers. Raphael is like known as the messenger, and he can sense other elites around him. And basically, the Daggers try to recruit other elites to join their cause, and they want to take over the throne. So basically, we hear from him and his whole opinion with Adelina, and Adelina was put to trial for killing her father, and they don't like elites because Malfetos are bad, especially elites, and she was going to be burned at the stake, and the Daggers come in and swoop in and save her and bring her and try to train her to become a part of their group in the Daggers. And then the third person we hear from is Taryn, and he's a member of the Inquisition, which is like the king queen's like army, and they protect them. And Taryn and the queen basically are lovers, but Taryn is not the king, and he is too young for the queen and not of like a high background really, so he just remains as a lover, and he wants to get rid of all Malfetos, not just elites, all Malfetos, and he is like perpetual enemies with the Daggers, and he was the one who was trying to kill Adelina, and so he is trying with all his hardest to find out who these Daggers are and kill them all, and then eventually hopefully kill off all the Malfetos. So basically it's about all their 3 storylines and how they all intertwine with all the other characters involved, and it's really good. We learn a lot more about Adelina's powers and everyone else's powers, and some people have secrets, and like we learn a bunch of other things that we didn't know about some of the characters. Stuff happens, a lot of intense fight scenes, a little bit of romance. It's really good, not like anything I really read prior. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I really didn't know what to expect, and I loved it, and I'd recommend you go check it out if you haven't read it. And yeah. And now if you have read it, I'm going to be going into a little more in depth and doing a little bit of review. Not too much, but yeah. If you haven't read it, bye. If you have, let's go delve in. So, The Young Elite. Oh, loved it so much. It was so interesting hearing from Adelina because she's such a dark character. I don't think I mentioned that in my book, like in the not-spoiled part. I should have, but whatever. She's such a dark character, and it was refreshing for me to read about her, but like as it got farther and farther on, I ended up disliking her more and more. Like at first, like she had like reasonings for all her like wrongdoing, but as it got on, it got a little more like twisted. Like she always blamed it back to her father, and it's like, I understand, like your father was crappy, he was a terrible person, but it's like, just because he was terrible, that doesn't mean you have the right to be terrible. So, I don't know. Also, Enzo's pretty cool, but like he has the ability to throw fire, which is like cool and seems like a really bad, like, bam. But like, the fact that like everyone's most scared of him because he can throw fire, I don't know, I feel like there's definitely more elites that are more powerful than him out there. Like Adelina, we kind of saw was more powerful. Oh my gosh, when Adelina killed, brought Enzo down, it like broke my heart. I was so sad, and then Enzo died, and I was like, no. But like, then at the end, in like the epilogue, we learn about the Queen of Belladere or whatever, and it sounds like she's the one that can like bring people back to life. So hopefully Enzo can come back to life and, you know, stuff happens. But who knows? But yeah, and then, okay, this is maybe stretching, and I know like Taryn's in love with the queen, and like, what's her name? What's her name? Adelina, God, I forgot her name, is like in love with Enzo, but But Taryn and Adelina are so similar. They're both really dark. He kind of has like an admiration for her because she's very similar to him. I'm like, what if they get together? I mean, I feel like it would kind of work out, and I'd kind of like it. But yeah, Adelina goes freaking crazy by the end. Like, she killed Spider. Like, what? And she was like, I love the feeling of killing him. And I'm like, what? Like, how? And yeah, and like Violetta can take away other elites' powers, and that's why Adelina couldn't show her powers for that long. She had the powers, but Violetta like submerged them, and it's like she looks perfectly normal. So it's like, I wonder how many other Malfetos are there that like look normal, or are there like a bunch of other ones, like other elites? Like, who knows? Like, we don't. And it sounds like at the end, Adelina's gonna go make her own thing, the Rose Society, so then that's like the name of the next book, so that's exciting. I wonder, like, I mean, Violetta, I guess, will for sure be with her. I don't know who else, maybe the Queen, no, probably not the Queen, I don't know, maybe. The Daggers just, like, cast her out and was like, get the heck out of here, like, we don't want to see you again, and, like, I honestly agree, because, like, first of all, she like sold him out to the Inquisition like Taryn, and then like freaking basically killed Enzo. Like, you crazy, you gotta go. I totally agree. But yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that happened. Not the longest, like, more in-depth review, so sorry about that. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I'd love to hear your opinions of it if you've read it down below. And yeah, because I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well if you read it. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a nice thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe to see more bookish videos. I'd really enjoy it, and feel free to leave comments down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.